Sean Cunningham of Fox 40, and I mean, this just a goat here in Sacramento. It is what it is, man. Sean, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Can you guys hear me all right?
We hear you perfect, man. That's a nice
Oh.
microphone. Nice. What you got the? Did you do like hustle and flow and put the McDonald's cup holders on the wall in there? It's just perfect. It's perfect sound in there.
Is it? No, man. I don't know. I know we've added a few. Me and my roommate in this apartment, we've added some decorations. So yeah, in the Zoom background, it kind of looks the same. But yeah, man, it's been fun. How are you guys doing?
Kenny, this is what happens when James buys your microphone set up for you.
Yeah, dude. I almost needed him to come and like calibrate everything, and in COVID times it was like frowned upon. So James walked me through it, and he set me up, man. He owns 2 boats. Do you know that?
Come on, man. You're talking about James Ham, man. Come on. I'm still trying to be his agent and get him a show on either HGTV or DIY Network. Either one of those.
Oh, DIY, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make that happen, and I'm gonna need 10% once it does happen because I've been talking about it. So it is what it is.
The dude had this moment just like I think it was last podcast or the one before that, where all of a sudden he's just looking at his bar, and I don't know how the hell it came up, but he's just like, I'm gonna take this cabinet and turn it down. Like we're looking at him like, what is he talking about?
No, it's a doorway.
He just went on it. There he goes.
Yeah, I feel like I heard that. It was on the show, wasn't it? Like I heard him.
Yeah, I'm gonna convert. I've already demoed the doorway. I'm gonna tighten up the doorway, and then I'm gonna build 3 bookshelves on the outside that fold open, and my bar will be a secret speakeasy bar in my house, and I'll soundproof the room by doing it.
Prohibition Ham coming through.
It's science.
Speakeasy. There you go, man. This guy's he's got it all taken care of, man. I want to be like Ham when I grow up. Ham and Damian Barley. That's what I want to be when I grow up, man. So.
Oh, Damian's living the life right now.
You see him. You see him out there. It just is what it is, man. I'm just trying to catch up. That's what I'm trying to do. Sean,
I'm just a kid from Sac. I'm just gonna be out here, just catch me in these streets out here, just slumming it.
You walked in on a conversation that we were talking about Manti Te'o and the documentary that came out. I can't speak to that. I don't know what the hell was going on with me, but neither here nor there. The documentary that came out on Manti Te'o, and then we talked about the catfish situation and that whole ordeal that went crazy when it happened. And we're like, well, what's the craziest sports story that you can think of? Me, innocent Kenny Caraway, I was like, craziest sports story might be Mike Tyson biting off Evander Holyfield's ear. Oh, that was so crazy. Everybody else come with Ray Caruth. They've come with OJ. They've come with what was the first one that they talked about? They talk just people, terrible human beings in sports.
Some murder and mayhem. I imagine Aaron Hernandez was
all
in
of
that
it.
mix.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron Hernandez. I told the story that Westfall told me about Jared Mustaf. I think that was his name. The guy on the Phoenix Suns that when he was coach there that paid someone to kill his girlfriend, and then that guy chickened out, and then his own cousin flew up, killed a girl, and then flew home, and then he sat there on the bench as like a guy who literally was part of a murder for hire. Just a weird situation, like crazy.
I know a good one. Robert Swift for the NBA, guy from Bakersfield, ended up in Seattle, was a draft pick up there. Just tons of trouble, drugs, ended up with a bunch of guns at his house. I mean, just crazy story. And then I forget the writer's name who did it on SI. He's a great writer. I can't remember who it was, so forgive me. But it ended up, up in Roseville running pickup games.
I was about to say, Robert Swift got Sacramento ties.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a story of redemption after what he's been through and just kind of finding a peace in his life. So that was really cool. I mean, Royce White is a crazy story, just all over things that he's done. I think, honestly, just to kind of keep it uplifting, I think the most crazy story in sports that I can just recall, aside from like, if you remember, Kenny, I think you and I are about the same age, and everything Dennis Rodman did was just unbelievable, right? Especially during the finals. But the one that comes to mind for me is a story I saw in Real Sports, and it involved the gymnast Dominique Moceanu and her sister, and how they were separate. grew up different lives, didn't know the parents, all this stuff, and then she grows up idolizing her which is her sister, and has no idea that they're related. And I think it was Bernard Goldberg who did the story, and also that sister who aspires to be like Dominique Mucciano, who is her sister, has no arms and no legs, and she wants to be a gymnast. And it's an unbelievable, uplifting story if you guys can see it.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
nuts.
See, Sean took it a positive way.
There
He
you
did.
go.
He did. I mean, that is not what everybody else is doing out here, Sean. You're a one man wolf pack in that respect.
There you go.
Appreciate that.
Dr. David brings up one that is crazy. It's like when I think about these things, I think about like if I had a show at that particular time, like that's all we would talk about, right? Tyson biting Holyfield's ear is one of them. Like we would probably have spent the whole week on that. That's nuts. But Doctor, I forgot about this. This is sad, scary, all this. Remember Monica Seles getting stabbed on the court?
Yeah, that was wild.
That was
Yeah.
terrible.
And then the Tanya Harding too. The Tanya Harding, Jeff Galooly, was that his name? She had her take out Nancy Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Why? Sorry, I can't. That's terrible.
Sean.
Monica Seles, though, wow, it's getting stabbed on the court. That was Jesus. I can't even imagine that. The other one that somebody else mentioned, that just you want to talk about think pieces and just we're talking about. I said a whole week. We're probably talking about this for a month. Latrell Sprewell. Can you imagine if that happened today? Latrell
Yes.
said,
Yes, I can.
I'm going to. Did you guys? You guys don't have to say nothing if you don't want to say nothing. You guys ever been like, yo, is this about to be a Sprewell situation? You guys ever been in practices or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
I've been
not
there.
really.
No names, but just like
I mean, I know the names that people are going to think of, and it's not. I don't think anything has ever gotten to the escalation of a player going after a coach, just at all. I don't. I
Kings
really don't
wise,
think.
no.
That's what I mean. Yeah, from a Kings perspective, even a Warriors perspective, I haven't seen. I mean, granted, obviously, Latrell Sprewell was PJ Carlosimo with the Warriors, but
Yep.
like I've never seen any anger like that directed at a coach where I thought things were going to happen. I just never. No, I saw it in high school one time, but and that was very small too. But nothing on that level.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
The Gilbert Arenas gun situation. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, Gilbert.
You remember we had those conversations with Tough Juice.
Strawman, Caron Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Caron Butler's he's
a great storyteller.
He is, and he wrote a book called Tough Juice. If you get a chance to read it, it's fantastic. And his upbringing in Racine, and oh my gosh, man, those were great stories. And I'm trying to remember who was the guy who actually ended up killing somebody.
Jarvis Crittenden.
Javaris Crittenden. Yeah, good memory. I'm lost on that one.
Incredible
stories.
I used to work at the gym I used to work out when I was in LA, this basketball facility. You know, everybody would come through there. And I can't remember if it was before or after the gun situation. But Crittenden would come in there often to work out. Like he'd come in there and I was working like the front desk, so they had to check in. Man, like it's great. Like he come, hey, what's up? How you doing? Little did I know who he was and like what he was capable of. That's crazy. That's a trip looking back on him. But
local tie right there. That's a good one, Joe. Ontario Smith and the Wizinator. Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I love the when Gilbert Arenas came back after the suspension and he gets player introduced and he's doing the shooting the guns and like total petty. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Gilbert Arenas to this day. If you follow him on Instagram, podcast or whatever, he don't mince no words. He does not mince any words.
He is an endless source of amusement to me. I've always found him thoroughly entertaining, and I kind of like to consider myself a petty individual, and he is like Tom Petty. Like this guy is the poster child for petty. So I kind of enjoy it, but you know, it's all in fun. It's entertainment, and he got slapped on the wrist and suspended, and as he probably should have, obviously. But boy, he tried to make it fun. He was a fun player.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a big Gilbert fan. I mean, I saw what he did. I saw what he would do on the court, but I never really liked Gilbert Arenas.
He didn't last long.
He's an
Yeah.
internet troll in real life, but guy who just had incredible game.
Nah,
Incredible game.
Like he was
Yeah.
a bucket, as they like to say. He was a bucket. Sean Cunningham, Fox 40's Sean Cunningham. An interesting note, my school, everybody talks about, like, I'd say, my junior high, elementary school, I went to a private school and all this other stuff, right behind Fox 40. I don't think it's a school anymore, but yeah, right behind Fox 40. I would see that all the time over there off of Fruit Ridge. So
There is. I'm getting reacquainted with the area. I kind of spent a lot of time in Elk Grove and all over Sacramento. But, like, quick backstory. I remember when I was working in radio, and you always had to have one of those side jobs. Especially, Kenny, you probably won't have to relate to this, hopefully. But I always had to have a side job.
I do.
Because radio is such a fickle business, man. You can get let go for any reason. I'm watching people around me just getting gone left and right. Like, hey, what happened to Joe? Joe got fired. Oh, okay. What did he do? Oh, just didn't like him anymore. I don't know. So you always had to have like one of those jobs, like a job, like a 9 to 5, whatever it was, to just work around the radio. So when I was in radio, I had a side job of working with Blockbuster. That's how old I am. And so I remember having to work at a bunch of different Blockbuster stores within the South Sac and Elk Grove region. I was kind of like a corporate worker. I was training DirecTV, and we were doing management and training. And they go, hey, we're going to send you to this Stockton and Fruit Ridge store. And I was like, okay. And I was like, it's a little bit far away, but they were going to up the pay and all that. They're like, yeah, we're going to close that in like 5 months, but you can't tell anyone. And I'm like, what? I was like, what? And so it's right next to where Fox 40 is. And it was going to become like a Washington Mutual Bank or something like that, and that's not even there anymore. I think it's. I drove by it the other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the cross streets again? When you say Fruit Ridge and
Stockton and Fruit Ridge, man. Stockton and Fruit Ridge.
Stockton and Fruit Ridge. Yeah.
So it's just like a hop, skip, and a jump down from where Fox 40 is currently located. So yeah, man, just kind of getting. They've got a bunch of new stuff going up over there, and it's you can kind of see them trying to fix up the neighborhood or gentrify it, if you want to call it a different something else. I mean, it can be a rough neighborhood, but it's also a lot of character and a lot of really great businesses over there. So
you ever go to JJ's?
Say again?
You ever go to JJ's?
Oh yeah, the fish and chips, or the fish and right down the street.
That's tell people about JJ's. They be slipping. They be sleeping on JJ's. Love me some JJ's. You like fish, James?
Do I like fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like fish and chips. And I've got, like, my aunt and uncle own Heights. Well, my uncle just passed last year, but they own Heights Dairy, which is right down on Fruit Ridge. There's a gas station there. It's like an Exxon now. It's nice. It's big. And it's old Heights Dairy. And if you ever got barbecue right there on Fruit Ridge, that was my cousin's shop right there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I know that area.
Right.
I don't like driving down there.
James is in the streets.
Yeah. It's not totally fish and chips. Like, it's more like fried fish. Like, it's great catfish. So you have great food over there. But I didn't want to like show it like it being like this pub, like an English style pub.
No, it's not that. No.
It's not that.
Not at all.
It's funny. People get angry with Sean and I when we start the podcast like this. They complain about me and Brendan and Sean just hanging out and talking about weird stuff and random stuff and kind of letting people know who we are a little bit more.
Yeah, and one is like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I told him on the last episode.
IDGAF. I mean, my goodness, what do we have to, like, it's August, for crying out loud. We talk enough Kings. Our last podcast went an hour and a half. Why? It's August. What's going on?
Because we talked about a bunch of nonsense. That's why. But I get it. I get it. Sean, the schedule came out today, man. Is there anything that stood out? I know you broke news the other day about opening night and stuff like that, but is there anything that stood out to you, or is it just like the standard King schedule?
I guess it's pretty standard. I mean, it seems like whether they were opening against Portland, it seems like they're always getting Portland in the first couple of games. It's kind of strange to face the Warriors 3 times before Thanksgiving. I think you're done at Chase Center in the first few weeks of the season.
Right.
And then just to get them at the end, like, that's kind of that could probably be a disappointing fan appreciation night. I mean, hopefully, I think they would look at it as a win, but, that could be a game where the Warriors kind of rest some players if things go right for them. So No, that February is crazy. Like you only have 2 home games, or what was it, 3 home games against 2 opponents. Kind of an interesting dynamic with just the rest of the schedule and the way it shapes out around the All-Star break and certainly the trade deadline there. But I like that they're kind of home for the holidays. I mean, selfishly, that's a good time for me. It's around my birthday. It's Christmas time, and they don't hit the road again until like I think they're in Memphis on New Year's Day. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to make early excuses. I mean, they obviously have I think the back-to-backs are pretty manageable. There's quite a bit of them. I think there's like 15.
Yeah,
Top of my head,
15.
if I remember. And yeah, I mean, looking at them, it's a schedule. I feel like there's a stretch where they're almost for like 3 straight weeks playing like back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but every other day. I kind of like that dynamic a little bit, particularly when you're playing at home. And we've talked about this, guys, over the past few years. It's like, for as great as Golden One Center is, and the crowds have been there, like, it doesn't quite have the home cooking you'd want it to have, like in terms of wins and losses. Like, it doesn't have that home field advantage yet, or home court in this case. And so hopefully this is a year where they can really take advantage of that. I mean, James, we would hear Alvin Gentry harp on that so much, like, God, we're losing so many games at home. You got to be able to protect home court, and this team just doesn't. So, for whatever reason, they seem to play a little bit better on the road at times, especially in the past 2 years. It was kind of in their makeup, and I kind of hope with all the changes they've made, hopefully they found a way to really be a competitive club at home.
Yeah, I think to me, that's always first when you're trying to change a culture, change things around. Take care of the home court, take care of the home field, all this other stuff, right? Like, winning on the road, you obviously want to get to the point where you're able to do that on a consistent basis. But you can't do anything if you can't win at home. And I think that was a lot of the frustration, or part of the frustration, that Alvin Gentry had last year, where he was like, look, we're still trying to do something. Because I believe Alvin, regardless of how crazy the situation was, he was trying to win games. He was trying to turn things around best he could while he was there. And he was like, look, we can't do anything if we can't win at home. And that's why he would always harp on that, in my opinion. It's like, that's first and foremost. Take care of home first. You take care of that, then we start getting ambitious about other things. But they couldn't even get out the starting blocks because they couldn't be consistent at home and be a team that would turn Golden One Center into a place where, at the very least, teams knew you come into Golden One, it's going to be a night. You got to be ready to play. They couldn't even get to that point, and that was frustrating to see as a fan's point. But I'm sure it was frustrating for somebody like Alvin Gentry and everybody else in the organization.
Yeah, and when you look at, I mean, to that point, Kenny, I mean, I was trying to bring up the schedule here in front of me. I couldn't do it. But if I remember correctly, I mean, when you go through preseason and then you have, I don't think you leave the state of California until like end of October, right? Like, I mean, you tip off when you tip off. I mean, it seems like home field, you're gonna, like, we always talk about how imperative it is, but you really have to strike early. I mean, you're getting some good teams that come in here, but you're not hitting the road until, I mean, you don't leave the state of California until right before November, I think. So this is,
I think 31st, or Halloween is like the first road game outside of California, I think.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Man.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look at that, because they hit the road, they go to Oakland or they go to San Francisco. But again, that's a one-off, and then you're coming back, and I think it's like Memphis and James. Like, you've got it in front of you. It's
Yeah,
like
they go Charlotte, Miami, Orlando, Golden State again, all on the road after to open November. So, yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, but you're right. Memphis, Miami at
Memphis,
home.
Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got it. You got a nice. I mean, look, it's upper echelon. Excuse me, upper echelon opponents, but you've got some time off before those games, and you're in your home state, you're at your home city. Like, you should hopefully be able to take advantage of some of these teams, especially early. So we always talk about how much that early start, bodes well for a team that's going to be trying to contend for a lower end playoff spot or even a play-in spot. Like, these are those games.
Sean, when you look at the road trip in December, with Milwaukee, Cleveland, Knicks, Philadelphia, Toronto on a back-to-back, and finishing with Detroit. Like, does it feel like there's always one of those in the Kings schedule where you're looking at it and you're like, 1-5, 2-4, If you're
Yeah.
lucky, 3-3 somehow. But there's always the possibility for a disaster.
Yeah, and that's a good one to look at. I mean, I think right even before the All-Star break, before they come home for that in February, those are those two stretches right there where you're looking at what could be, what potentially could be, and but I feel like especially if you take care of home court so early on, like hopefully that won't matter as much.
Mhm.
And I think it comes at a good time because like I always feel like it's a like we would see stretches of this happen more often in like January, and you get through the holidays and you come back and sometimes there could be a little bit of a lethargic start or whatever, because it for whatever reason I think for the past 4 or 5 years like the Kings have had pretty much been home for like
Yeah.
around the holiday time. So maybe you're getting it at the right time. It's before the holidays, you're after a good stretch where you've been at home. I think it could come at a pretty good time for them, and then you're home for the holidays, and then let's see what happens in January. But just a lot of times you have family come in for a lot of these players, and then they see more family than they do in different parts of the season. So I don't know, man. Hopefully it works well for their favor. But that's certainly one you can identify as that could be a tough skid.
I'm hoping that that stand right there, that road trip right there, is where they kind of they've kind of announced to us that cover the team, the fan base, maybe even the rest of the NBA that we've arrived a little bit. We're different. In the past, like James said, we would look at that like, oof, man, probably 1-5, 2-4. Hopefully, like if you're super lucky, 3-3, whatever. I'd like to see them go into that road trip and say, no, we're looking at this as 3-3 minimum. We're here. Like we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to play. This isn't a situation where before we even go on the road trip, we're feeling like we done lost 4 games. I want to see them say, no, we're here. We're here to play.
You start December, it's 8 of 9 on the road. But Kenny, that's a great point because at that point you're 20 games under your belt, and I think you're onto something there. I think that time you have a sample size to know what you're going to be, like what you're going to be this season, and what better way to show the league, like you said, come out, and that's going to be a crucial road trip. All these guys will say, "Oh, we just take it one game at a time," and they're lying to you when they say. I mean, look, they do take it one game at a time, but so a lot of the smarter players tend to look at the season in 10 game increments, and they break it up that way. Yeah, you got to have the day-to-day mindset, but you can see what you are after 10 games and try and get a read and try to maneuver things. I mean, certainly the organization will and coaching staff will when they're looking at rotations and minutes, and they'll take 10-game increments to see if this rotation's working, if this guy's working with better minutes than maybe what they anticipated in training camp, things of that nature. So I think players do it as well, and I think that's a hardy stretch, especially with 20 games under your belt.
Yeah, Sean, you mentioned like with this team in particular, you got a new head coach. Most of your coaching staff has turned over except for Doug and Lindsay. Your training staff, your medical staff, like we can keep going about all the turnover. On top of that, you're talking about a major rotational swap out. The Kings have had so many players, and some of the players that were playing major minutes last year won't play at all this year if they are still there. We're almost at the 2-year mark of Monty McNair, and in that 2 years, there's only 3 players left from Vlade Divac's roster and De'Aaron Fox, Rashawn Holmes, and Harrison Barnes. Is 10, 15, 20 games, is that still on the table with this team? I mean, I think you have to have some sort of marker where you understand who and what the team is. But we are talking about like extreme change.
Yeah, I mean, what do you 10, 20 games? Or you said 20, 25 games to what? To
Yeah,
to
like,
figure
well,
out.
you know who they are, because I think I'm of the same opinion you are. Like, we always get to a point, it's like, okay, we know who they are. Like, they're not that good, and we know it, and they're a team that's going to lose games that we think they should win, and win games that you probably think they should lose, and then, surprise you every once in a while, but really not. They'll surprise you by being bad. Like, there's always that moment in a Kings season, since we've covered it for so long, where you go, okay, yeah, we know who they are. But you think this year specifically, it might be a little bit longer than normal just because of all the change?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it also, you got to factor health into there. So if
Yeah.
everything stays healthy and you have a 25 game sample size, sure. And even at that point, you still have a month and a half before the trade deadline. So I would say yes, but you look at when they made the move last year, and I told everyone, you make a franchise altering move like that, playoffs be damned. Like you're not judging it for this season and making this playoff run. You're looking ahead to this year. So
Right.
this is the year. Now that you've added the shooting around someone like Sabonis and Fox, this is the year to kind of see how this thing looks like. And I think you will give it maybe more than 25 games. But if everyone's healthy, hopefully you'll know by 25 games. Hopefully you'll have a true sample size, because again, you can go a 10 or 15 game stretch. Maybe they're not. Maybe at that point, let's see if they really start tinkering and they say, well, maybe they're starting Kevin Huerter and he's doing fine, but maybe they want to shake it up and maybe start him and Malik Monk together. Who knows? Something like that, and try to, starting really doesn't matter. But if you get the bulk rotational minutes with the two of them on the floor, maybe you want to see something more like that. Maybe at that point, if you haven't moved Rashawn Holmes and you're playing him and Sabonis together to a certain degree, maybe you have a strong enough sample size there to say this either works or doesn't work. So I think those are all on the table, and I think those are the types of decisions that they'll make. And hopefully, yeah, I mean, look, even just objectively speaking, I want to cover a winning basketball team here in Sacramento. I think we all do. I think we want to make we want to be able to cover a relevant team. I don't want to get to April 9th and be like, well, we're hopping on Warriors duty again for the next several months. So, and as we get ready for the draft again. So there is a rooting interest in that regard for just this team to be relevant. But I think they have some pieces that they could be. They'll be in that conversation. It's like, what could it look like versus what do I expect? I mean, I still don't think this is a finished product yet. I think there's still a lot of offseason left. I mean, there's things that can happen. Certainly Brooklyn kind of holds a lot of the cards in that regard, but there could be a move or two that are made before training camp. And even if not, like, let's see what this training camp looks like. Let's see what Mike Brown believes in his rotations. And I always, I sound like the Debbie Downer always, because when you get a first-time head coach, first time to your squad, that usually doesn't bode well to success right away. So there's usually a honeymoon period there. So, going from Luke Walton to Alvin Gentry and now to Mike Brown, like there could be some could be a little bit of a honeymoon period there.
Sean Cunningham, Fox 40, and of the Kings Beat. And Sean, I agree with you 100%. Offseason is still there. There is still time to make some moves. That's why you probably agree with me when I say they need to go ahead and just sign Carmelo. Stop playing.
Sign Carmelo. Well, that wouldn't help the defensive strategy very much, but I get you. I mean, it would make. I'll say this: like, if you rewind a couple years, and it's like I remember looking at James at one point, and I'm like, "Dude, we get to cover Vince Carter." like to me,
I loved it.
Like,
Fireside chats with Vince Carter, like spectacular.
It was so great, but then I was like, well, he's probably not going to play very much, right? And then they get to a point where I'm like, damn, he's working harder than most of these guys in training camp at this age. And I remember looking at people in the organization and coaches and going, if he's beating out the likes of X player, Y player, Z player, whatever, I was like, that's not a good sign at his advanced age. And then here he was, like I remember getting into arguments with other media members about like the earn it factor, right? Like I took some heat, and it wasn't me. Like I always want to say, like I'm on the record as saying I would start Keegan Murray day one. But there is a sense of earn it in the league, right? And so what if he doesn't have a great training camp? What if for whatever reason, we're not expecting this, but what if the wrist is a little bit of an issue? Probably won't be. Could be. Don't know. Might. Whatever. But anything can happen, right? And you remember De'Aaron Fox didn't start right away. There's a sense of earn it. And I remember
Marvin, Tyrese Halliburton.
They're like, why? I remember hearing people going, why are they playing Vince Carter? I said, because he's playing harder than all these guys. Like right now, he's a better, like, impactful player than all these guys. Like, yeah, but he doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, but you have to establish a culture of like a winning culture and reward the people who are better. And yeah, you want to bring your guys along. It's not going to take away minutes from them, but I don't know. I think a lot of people do have an earn it factor, and I had heard that that could be very much on the table. It's not to say that they don't love Keegan Murray. I mean, they do. They absolutely drafted the guy. They love this kid, but there's always the what if, and sometimes fans don't quite either understand that, or if I just if I'm saying something and again I'm literally saying it's stuff I'm hearing or being told, it's like, oh, Sean, F you, it's like, no, that's not my opinion.
Why'd I get
I told you.
like that? Jeez.
Oh man, they go.
It gets wild.
I do. I love
the
it.
comment section.
Bring it. No, I like it. Because again, even though I kind of spouted off in the last one as a character, I really do, because anything, like, I don't have it in me, but like anybody who takes the time to interact, be it on a web board, social media, my mentions, it doesn't matter. Call into radio shows, like I don't have that fire in me to do that about anything, but to see someone want to engage in that way is awesome, whether you agree with them or not. I love it.
Well, look, Sean, I understand what you're saying. In this particular case, the only earned it that I care about is from the weekend. That's the only one that I acknowledge. That's the only earned one I'm acknowledging right here. Start Keegan Murray, get him going. If he's the best guy at the position, go ahead and get him in there from day one. He ain't got to earn nothing else. He just ball out. That's all you got to do.
Hey, that's what I would do.
I think we're on the same page. Yeah. I think we're on the same page. Sean, after this, I mean, the roster's at 20. We talk about this all the time. Do you think they're done?
Well, no. I mean, I think they're going to try to remain active and try to move. I think they have. We talked about in the last podcast on the Kings Beat. Like, they have a lot of movable pieces. They have guys that, I mean, I think Brendan had brought up, like, someone was pissed that they hadn't just cut Alex Len or something like that, and we were trying to draw a picture about the salary, and when you have an expiring contract and you look at somebody like Trey Lyles, which was a no-brainer to pick up a $2 million option. I know it's all play money in the grand scheme of things. These are just out. Someone hears $2 million and they go, oh my God, but you think about in NBA terms, it's rather low on the totem pole. So when you group all these things together, as James had, he knows the salary cap better than most people, and was talking about how, you can combine those two players, and that's especially with trade exceptions, and that's a pretty valuable chunk to a team that would like to get off of some contracts. So I think there's moves that can be made. Whether or not it happens, I feel like we're just at this holding pattern, and it's eerily familiar to what we just dealt with last season with Ben Simmons. So the reality is, because it's so hard to move players, I was talking about Phoenix, for example, right? Well, you can't really move Kevin Durant to Phoenix, or Kevin Durant to Phoenix, because then Devin Booker and Ben Simmons are together, so you have to move Ben Simmons too. So there's so many like restrictions that are in place. You can't just, and then you look at what Rudy Gobert just got with Minnesota. Brooklyn's going to want, especially with a player like Durant, who's arguably the top 3 player in the league, under team control for 4 years. Like, you're going to want everything, like the biggest deal known to man possible. Like, Rudy Gobert gets that many picks from Minnesota. Well, it should be double that for someone like Kevin Durant, and you understand it. But the reality of them getting something like that is really, really, really tough. So I would think that if you're going to get a move done, it's going to involve several teams. I just don't know that you can do it. And if I'm Brooklyn, I'm probably inclined not to do it.
Yeah. Well, Sean, last time you were on this show, you were in like the most dangerous part of Elk Grove we had ever imagined in our life. It was scary, to be honest with you. So I'm glad you're in much safer confines this time around. And come on, man. Sean Cunningham, I think this is the second, maybe third time. That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary, especially since I forgot to mention this, the 2-year anniversary of D'Lo and KC is today. So two times in 2 years for Sean Cunningham, that's unacceptable. We need to do this way, way more often.
Yeah, because usually I'm coming on and having to defend Rihanna, so this is like, you
ain't got to defend Rihanna here when I'm here. I know that much. You don't have to defend her here. This is a pro Rihanna show here today. That's just what it is.
I think we brought everybody together and found a happy place, didn't we? Like, I think Damian was finally, he whatever thing there. I think we got to the iconic.
We just jumped him until he agreed with us. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
All right.
Some of us had some bruises on us. Yes.
That's all it is. Sean Cunningham, Fox 40, and the Kings Beat. Appreciate you hopping